There is a lot of Capital One hate going around, but I actually feel like there are a lot of benefits to holding a Capital One card, especially when you are younger. And of course, there are plenty of cons such as customer service, so let's talk about it. I think the biggest complaint about Capital One is the low credit limit they give you. However, most people with this complaint started their credit card journey with Capital One, usually with the Quicksilver card or one of the secured cards, when they were 18 or 19 years old. Could you imagine at the age of 18 or 19 starting out with a $10,000 or higher credit limit when you're still learning how to manage your finances, still learning the difference between a want and a need, still trying to get your impulsive spending under control? I think in a lot of ways, as annoying as low credit limits are, they help a lot of people stay out of debt instead of trouble. Maxing out a credit card that you cannot afford to pay back is always going to set you back financially, but having a $1,000 bill versus a $10,000 bill is going to help you out significantly. I also see a lot of people saying that they wish they got a Discover card first and then switched to Amex or Chase instead of getting a Capital One card first, or started with Discover and then switched to one of Capital One's travel cards. My very first credit card was a Discover It cashback card that I got when I was 18, and I don't personally feel like Discover is the better choice. Discover has all of like 5 credit cards and one very underdeveloped travel card in my opinion, and as hard as it is to grow with Capital One, it's basically impossible to really grow with Discover. And I just feel like there's no point in building with a company that you're only ever going to have one card from. Like, I have one Discover card and that's all I'm gonna have from Discover for the rest of my life. Also, in addition to that, Discover is its own card processing system, and I think it's fair to say that it's not as large as Visa or MasterCard. I don't use my Discover card as much anymore, but when I did use it, there were lots of local restaurants that would not accept my Discover card as payment. And I also don't think Discover's target audience is seasoned credit card holders or well-traveled individuals. Now, I do have 2 Capital One cards, one business and one personal, and I applied for my Capital One Quicksilver card almost a year ago with the intention of holding it for an international trip, because I knew that my Amex card and my Discover card would not be as accepted internationally, which they were not. For my personal Capital One card, I was approved for $7,000, and this was my very first personal card with them. But this is wildly different to a lot of other people's experiences with the Quicksilver card. I know lots of people have like $1,000 limit on that card that they've had for over 20 years. And because of that, a lot of people make the argument that you can't really grow with Capital One either, and that their cards are only good when you're young and trying to build credit. Having credit limits that low well into your adulthood will definitely affect your credit score, because your credit utilization rates will be high even if your balance is not that high. This makes it difficult to raise your credit score and also makes it harder for you to branch out and apply for new cards that require a higher credit score. Now, you do have the option always to cancel your Capital One card. However, it will affect your credit score depending on how many cards you currently have, how much credit history you have, and how high your other limits are. Forbes published this article that you can take a look at, which will help give you an idea of how hurtful canceling one of your oldest credit cards would be, or just any one of your open credit cards. The biggest reason your credit score may drop if you decide to cancel one of your cards is you'd be reducing your amount of available credit. But if your current limit is only $1,000 and you're 30 or 40 with 5 or 7 other cards or even more, closing your first Capital One card might not have the devastating effect that you think it will. You do have the option to product change, but that won't give you the higher limit that you're hoping for due to a system Capital One uses called bucketing. In short, when you apply for a Capital One card, they place you in a bucket based on your credit worthiness. Most people had poor or okay credit when applying for their first Capital One card that has a really low limit. When you are placed in a bucket meant for people with poor credit, it's designed to limit your credit limit increases because Capital One sees you as a liability. And the reason doing a product change won't help you is because it's still the same account. The only way out of low limit jail is to apply for a completely separate credit card. And this time, apply for the one intended for people with good or excellent credit. And by the time most people learn this, they feel there is no point in continuing to fight with Capital One because there are more interesting cards out there, which there are. But I personally feel like Capital One has some of the most solid cashback cards out there if you value cashback. I'm not a huge fan of their travel cards because I don't like the fact that you have to book through their travel portal in order to earn 5 to 10 points per dollar. Miles per dollar, excuse me. I think 10 miles per dollar is amazing. I just don't want to have to book through Capital One Travel to access that. But maybe I will try it out for a year and see how it goes. For people that value cash back instead of points and miles, I feel like opening a new card with Capital One isn't the nightmare it's painted out to be. Their cashback cards are certainly better than American Express's cashback cards because you can decide how you want to use your cashback. Whereas with Amex, they automatically apply your cashback as a statement credit. Unless you plan to use your cashback as a statement credit anyway, I think the flexibility that Capital One has is amazing. And if you do value travel, I think Capital One is still trying to make their name in the travel space. In my opinion, compared to Amex and Chase, they have the worst list of transfer partners. There's no JetBlue, there's no Delta, there's no Marriott, there's no Hilton. But now that I think about it, if most of your trips are international, you could still benefit from one of their cards. Most of their airline transfer partners are international brands such as Air Canada, Air France, and Emirates, just to name a few. I do think Chase has some better cards than American Express, such as the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, especially if you do not do a lot of heavy spending. And by heavy spending, I'm talking about one of American Express's most popular cards, the Gold card, because when I did more research on this card, it is clear that they intended this card to be used by people who are eating out daily and always on the go, always traveling. So if you are not eating out basically every single day, I think you can get some really amazing value from holding the Chase Sapphire Preferred card versus the MX Gold card or even the MX Green card because one, the annual fee is lower. The Chase Sapphire Preferred card does have a lower multiplier on dining in groceries than the MX Gold card, but it's only by 1 point per dollar. Not only that, but you're also earning extra points in categories that American Express doesn't even offer, such as streaming services, and 2 points per dollar on travel purchases made outside of the Chase travel portal. And then you still have the opportunity to earn 5 points per dollar on all travel purchases made through the Chase travel portal. And as you know, with the MX Gold card, you only earn 3 points per dollar on flights and 2 points per dollar on hotels booked through amextravel.com as long as they are prepaid. But that is about it. You're not earning 2 points per dollar on all travel purchases made outside of the Amex travel portal. So the fact that this card, the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, has a lower annual fee and still gives you a lot more value depending on your spending, I think that's the card. I think this is it. I think we found it. Chase does have JetBlue and Marriott as transfer partners, as well as Hyatt, which is known for its extremely valuable redemptions. And that is not all. American Express has JetBlue as a transfer partner, but you cannot transfer your Amex points to JetBlue at a 1-to-1 ratio. For every 250 Amex points, you only get 200 JetBlue points. And for perspective, 40,000 Amex points only equals 32,000 JetBlue points. And in the year and a half, almost 2 years, well, almost 2 is a little bit dramatic. About a year and a half that I've had my Gold card, I've only seen one promotion for JetBlue where you can transfer your points at a 1-to-1 ratio. Now, I don't have any Chase cards myself, but it's my understanding from doing a little bit of research that you can transfer your Chase points to JetBlue at a 1-to-1 ratio. And so that is just another small little perk. That's actually not that small. That's a huge deal, especially for someone like me because JetBlue is my preferred airline. So that's just another reason why I think some of Chase cards are a little bit stronger than American Express's cards. I just feel like it might be time for me and the Chase Sapphire Preferred card to be best friends. And I don't have any Chase cards. Like I said, that's the only company that I do not have a card from. So I think it might be time. That is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.